How to realize your greatest gifts through shadow work. So, what is shadow work? Shadow work is a way of integrating our light and our darkness. Here in the realm of duality, we experience contrast. We experience contrasting experiences, is another way of putting it. That there are things that are unpleasant that we like, there are things that we don't like. In law of attraction, you learn that the things that you don't like help you to focus on what it is that you do and helps you to focus on what you want to create. In shadow work, we recognize that in a way, our own shadow has its own life in our subconscious or in our unconscious. And until that is integrated, those subconscious patterns or programming continue to run in the background and recreate circumstances that we don't prefer in our life. And if you've ever heard the phrase, same face, different town, that's what karma is. Karma is cause and effect, right? And until you resolve the cause and transform yourself, until you change, the circumstances don't change. That's why outward seeking only goes so far. That's where you hear parables of people who go on a journey and they're always changing towns or they're always trying to change these things in their life, but every step of the way they keep encountering the same repeated circumstances, right? So shadow work is a really effective way I've found of changing the synchronicities in our life. Right? And synchronicity, right? What is synchronicity? Synchronicity is the synchronization of the timing of the certain types of synchronized events that we attract or manifest into our experience, right? And these, we can change the set of synchronicities that we live within. We can change our reality because our reality is a reflection of us, as within, so without. So, for example, we'll give some tools on this, but along my journey, what I realized was that, for example, I have had a shadow around really sharing my voice, right? That has related to not feeling heard in my childhood. So this can also relate to, childhood woundings or healing your inner child, right? And that caused me to be very closed down and not share my expression. But why this created so much turmoil is because it was part of my calling to do that. It's part of the calling to express that. And so what's beautiful about these shadows is that as I went into healing my voice and stepping into my power, right, and working through those, those energy centers or those chakras of the solar plexus and the throat, of the voice and the power of. And what I realized as I started going through that is that I started feeling more open to express myself. I started facing those inner demons or those voices of doubt, those parts of myself that into my adult life. So those same voices are conditioning, societal conditioning, or what your family told you. Oh, artists can't be successful or whatever. Say they told you some story about what life is, and as a child you can take those things on, and then you have these kind of like an inner family, right, that runs in the underground or the inner world, right, in your subconscious. And one powerful technique that I found along that was it's called constellation work or inner family work, and there's different teachers that do this. One particular technique I found helpful that you can look up is called alchemical hypnotherapy or alchemical hypnosis. And there's one particular technique where you journey in and you can meet with your inner family, and you can allow your inner child to express that which was unexpressed, and you can meet with those shadows and resolve those patterns. And another thing that I found really helpful in in this whole journey was, well, first let me say this, is that as I noticed, as I started to clear this, that also the outer reflection started to change. I started to encounter more receptivity and more honoring of my expression and more recognition of the value in what I had to say. And it also is a journey into connecting with more of like your soul family, or more with people that really resonate with, you know, because often that's part of why we feel these dissonances, and is that we're brought up in an environment that isn't suitable for the fullest expression of your gifts. But what I realize is that even that is a blessing, because as you transmute this, as you go through the shadow work, you start to compost those experiences. You start to treat it like contrast. You start to look at it with non-judgment, and it actually alchemizes into your greatest gifts that you have to share with the world. And from another perspective, without those contrasting experiences, you wouldn't have the growth and evolution. And perhaps those things are even needed for the birth of that gift, like a seed in the soil. It needs the rich nutrients, the diversity of the nutrients in order to really thrive. And so on a soul level, when we incarnate into certain parents, or, you know, certain society, or certain schooling or conditioning, those are feedback for you to actually serve your purpose. Because as you work through that, that's what you're then bridging back as well. That's about service. So it's like, yeah, you have all these, you unlock all these talents or spiritual gifts or abilities, right? Well, it's great. You have these great realizations, but then you get to a point like, well, what do you do with it? You know, you serve. And there, I guarantee you that there are countless people that are going through the same struggles that you were going through. And when we start to realize that our suffering is not personal, right? That really it's a common human experience. In another way, it gives us a blessing of realizing our interconnectedness. And insofar as also becoming clear in my own expression along that journey, was taking a look at the conflicting thoughts, or the doubts, the limiting beliefs, right? And about what it is that you're capable of doing, or things that stop you before you even start, right? Say you want to go to the gym on the regular, but you can't seem to hold the discipline because there's some part of your shadow that doesn't want you to go to the gym. There's some part of your shadow that wants you to stay stuck in the experience. And if you were to fully integrate that shadow and dissolve those patterns in your consciousness, then when you would go to the gym, you wouldn't feel any resistance towards it. And so then you would just naturally start doing it. So this is the other side of why just motivation doesn't work, right? Just motivating yourself, just positive thinking, just doesn't work for a lot of people, is because there's subconscious patterns and unintegrated parts of ourselves that are creating more resistance than you could possibly push beyond. Even if you break that barrier, then the next day the barrier is still there, because there's still an inner wall for you to constantly break through. But what if you just didn't have that wall? Would you have to get yourself all psyched up, or would it just be natural for you to be that version of yourself? Like, why would you need to get all amped up to do something that was just natural for you to do? So, but why does that part of your shadow want that? And this is where the work of Carolyn Elliott, Existential Kink, has been such an amazing service in my life. I was going to say amusing for some reason. It's like, because it's making in a way it's making it fun. It's making it enjoyable, and also it's turning pain into pleasure. Because I had tried other shadow work techniques and they hadn't really done it for me. And what I hadn't gotten until I really dived into her stuff, I started getting into it in like March or so of 2021. And I was feeling really stuck, right? I was feeling really stuck in manifesting. You know, I needed a vehicle, and you know, through this whole process I ended up manifesting the money I needed for a vehicle, and I also ended up, you know, changing how I was doing things, how I was creating. I started to realize that I was people pleasing. I started to realize I wasn't fully like owning that I wanted to do my own thing, and it allowed me to start to realize that I had these subconscious shame patterns, right? And one thing about that practice that's pretty dope is that one phrase that she says, what is it? Having is evidence of wanting. So it's the philosophy of that is the idea that if you have something that continues to recreate in your experience, then some part of you is desiring that. So just like when they say in law of attraction, focus on what you want to manifest, what you desire and sync up with it. Well, there's a part of your shadow that desires certain events to occur in your life and actually gets off on and enjoys those things. But our conscious mind doesn't, and so they're in conflict, and then shames that part of ourself, which then represses the pattern further to the point of where you're not aware of it and it's in your unconscious. So, and that's why, you know, Carl Jung said, you know, making the unconscious conscious, and the great work of alchemizing those aspects of ourself. You know, I was starting to go deeper into all this, and yeah, I highly recommend checking it out. She's got a great book. And it also talks about, you know, like, you know, for me, the way that I interpret it is what you resist persists. So if you're resisting those desires, if you're resisting the expression of your shadow, it's actually creating it to continue. But when you approve of it, so when you go and do the existential kink meditation, you're approving of all parts of yourself. You're listening, you're receiving, and you're just surrendering and approving. And it releases all resistance to that part of your shadow and allows it to be fully expressed, fully seen, fully heard. And then suddenly, as there's no resistance, it dissolves itself. And then it integrates, or it's digested into your body. It's digested into your energy. It's that energy is then transmuted and then freed up so that you can create with that. So really, this whole process is about freeing up your bandwidth. Because if you've got a radio station halfway between two stations, because there's two parts of yourself fighting between each other, then you're halfway between two stations and it's all this static, right? And that's kind of what that resistance is, because it's when we realize that we're reconciling opposites, and it's the difference between good and bad and polarity, and understanding that energy has poles, positive and negative. There's polarity to how energy works. And when you're able to work with that polarity and not be ruled by it, that is becoming the alchemist. That is becoming the version of yourself that can take the shame, the blame, the issues that come up in family, the not feeling received, the not feeling understood, the crunchy feelings in your heart when you wake up and you don't feel like you're fully living your purpose. It's taking all of that and being able to alchemize it into gold. It's turning lead into gold. And that frees up and liberates, because it's about liberation, right? And it frees up the energy to be able to create what your heart desires, or your dharma, or your Tao, or your way, or your, your life purpose. Another technique, so I'm doing this video more as a way for you to discover kind of an overview of shadow work, and also leading to other people who are doing good things. And another person on YouTube that teaches a really useful technique is Aaron Dowdy, and it's the frame technique. And it involves just placing your hands, your awareness in your body, or if you're walking, for me, it's in your hands and feet. And he has you stare at a candle flame, and as you're breathing in, right, you're feeling the space between, and when you're breathing out, you're feeling the connection. And it helps you to drop into your lower, earth energies, the lower chakras, and helps you to integrate into your body, right? And I think any technique that helps, especially empathic people, spiritual people, psychic people, light workers, to ground into our bodies is incredibly helpful, because we have this tendency to float. But also, just for people in general on their awakening journey, even when we're just starting our awakening journey, we start to realize that that a main issue that affects humanity is disassociation, right? Disassociation from what? Ourselves. Separation is another way of putting it. And in that disassociation, there's a slight dissonance. You're not fully dropped into your body. And so using these techniques are a way to integrate your spirit, your mind, your body, and your spirit, so that you become more synchronized, right? So they become more integrated, so you become more of a whole being. And that's also a great thing that the inner counseling, different hypnosis journeys for inner child, and also fathering and mothering your own inner child, right? Because a lot of the patterns that we act out in adulthood is almost like our inner child throwing a fit for things that we didn't get, when we were kids. And as we start to become aware of that, we can start to become our own divine parent, right? And connect with the Divine Mother, connect with the Holy Father, and feel those parts of ourselves hold our own inner child. It's like becoming your own parent, right? And being able to hold yourself, with loving kindness and move through this process helps you to heal through these patterns, and helps you to realize the gifts within you. Because as these patterns are integrated, as you go through this healing journey, it'll start to reveal these talents. It'll start to reveal these creative ideas. It'll start to reveal your why, your purpose in life. And as that becomes more clear, because there's a clearing of energy within you, you become more coherent and aligned with that vision. You become more aligned with that version of yourself, and you literally start to step in and embody that version of yourself. And since the bandwidth is freed up, you have more energy, and I'm talking vibration, but I'm also saying like vital energy, like you're literally more energized. You have more creative energy. You have more energy to thoughts instead of running on complaining about things that are really just a surface level manifestation of a deep agitation and not having peace, because we haven't reconciled these opposites within ourselves, right? And when you clear those subconscious patterns, those thoughts are not playing out. Those thoughts take energy. They take literal energy. They drain your energy. And when you clear them, then you have more energy. And another really simple way to do all this, you don't even have to call it the shadow, right? Is to just meditate. Just meditate for 15 minutes in the morning and just get clear, right? And release the resistance. Accept the contrast for what it is. Approve of and love your experience fully as it is. And there are many different approaches and opinions and philosophies about this, but bridging. It's really simple, because when you let go of all resistance, you step into alignment, and you don't have that split vibration. And when you don't have that split vibration, you have a smooth vibration. And that's an alignment with who you truly are. And when that's there, your expression naturally flows through. You start to realize your gifts, and you're able to attract the cooperative forces to manifest the life of your dreams. So, thanks for tuning in. We'll leave the link to those various practitioners, practices. And I invite you, if you like this video, to like and subscribe to this channel for the awakening. And yeah, leave a comment and let me know what kind of shadow work techniques you've been working with and what you think about what has been shared here. So thank you. Many blessings.